All right, it is time for some pickups because I got a bit of a haul. It's from the library, but I get to keep them because it was a book sale. Yeah. Hey everyone, it's Shannon, and I am super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be my book haul from going to Bookends. I am so excited that I got to venture back out to Bookends. It had been a long time, I think early 2020, so pre-pandemic. I was the last time that I went. Bookends, if you're unfamiliar, it's a library book sale that's part of the Toronto Public Library, but it's like a permanent location that's open for library book sales. So it's stuff that's been withdrawn from the library, or it's stuff that's been donated that's not going into circulation, and is just treasure everywhere. Like, it's just so much fun, and it is without question the best deal in town that I have found when it comes to books. Previously I had only been to the Bookends down at the part of the reference library at Yonge and Bloor, but this time me and my sister Jamie, we went north. We went to the one at the North York Civic Centre, part of the North York Library, that's between Shepherd and Finch off of Yonge Street, and it had been under renovation for quite some time, and we noticed that it was open. So very exciting. They even had bookmarks, and yeah, and they're only open Wednesday through Saturday, and which was good that I checked because we were gonna go on a Tuesday. That would not have been good. So it's always good to check. And they have an Instagram account, which I haven't followed yet. So, and that's Bookends North. That's the one that's at the North York Library. So yeah, so it was exciting to go. And I am just so thrilled. You never know what you're gonna find. And it's just so wonderful to have like a library book sale that is like almost always open. It's opened within these hours. And yeah, so it was great. It was quite an adventure, and it had been a while since I had done any book shopping. So there's a fair amount. There's a fair amount here. I have sort of split this off, and maybe I'll try and do chapters if it's helpful. I do have nonfiction. I have some classics, some kids books, some speculative fiction, and some romance, because that's what I read. That's what I read. I think it's really just true that I know that now, and that's helpful. I sadly I don't think I got any nonfiction art books. Oh, I got a couple of adjacent ones. We didn't notice the art section until we had been shopping for quite some time, so that was too bad. One thing that is interesting about this one in comparison to the other Bookends is that it does, the nonfiction is by Dewey Decimal System. So if there's something very specifically that you're looking for, you can go, and they have stuff in most of the sections. But it's also like, I kind of really like sort of like never knowing what I'm gonna find. So it was organized a bit differently. So the nonfiction was Dewey Decimal System. They had some coffee table books, like really big, oversized, like those kinds of books together. They had the kids books together. They had a quite extensive kids section, and they had kids books in other languages, kids books that were picture books, and then chapter books. And then the fiction they had mostly by format. So all the paperbacks were together, all of the trade paperbacks are together. Like the paperbacks, like the mass market paperbacks are together, the trade paperbacks are together, and the hardcovers were together, but they did have the sci-fi and fantasy separated out and together on its own. So it was interesting to see how it was organized. And I, I looked a little bit at everything, but I sadly did miss looking at the art section. By that time, I had already picked out a lot. So anyway, let's get to it. I've talked for quite a bit. Let's get to what I picked. I'm going to start with the nonfiction, and this was my big purchase. This one was the most expensive title at $2, and that is Peregrine Falcons by Candace Savage. A Sierra Club book. I actually wanted this for one, because this is like a coffee table book, right, of Falcons. And I wanted it for one particular photo, which I don't know if I'll be able to find. And I'm like, I want to put that on a journal. I will read this first. But like, and I love writing books about birds, and I don't think I've read one recently. This is it. This is it. I want that for a journal cover. Yeah. So, but I will read the whole thing and learn about Peregrine Falcons. Oh, wow. So there you go. Peregrine Falcons. That was my big one. This one, I didn't even know that I had an interest in this, but I read a book earlier this year that was kind of similar. I was like, I am interested in that. So this is City of Surprises: Discovering Urban Wildlife Habitats by Renata Cacik and Valentine Schaefer, Douglas College Center for Environmental Studies and Urban Ecology. And that is a bit of a mouthful. This one does look like, it kind of feels like maybe it was someone's thesis or project or something. So, but I read earlier this year Mammals of Toronto, and they did talk about the, like, people don't often talk about nature in an urban setting. And, like, it's still there. It's just different. So, someone who lives in the city, I appreciated that. So, but yeah, so this definitely feels like a project or something like that. And so I am curious to see includes descriptions of 38 different habitats, food webs for each of these habitats, food web, questions to stimulate imaginative and urban biodiversity, a bibliography of related materials. So, yeah, so City of Surprises. So I think it's East Coast, or no, I think it's West Coast. I think it's BC. I think it's from BC somewhere. Yeah, New Westminster, BC. So there you go. In a similar-ish vein, The Art of Canadian Nature Photography. This is another one that this one I may or may not read, but I mostly got it for the pictures. I mean, I love having full-color pictures of animals and landscapes, and I guess those are butterflies. This is one of the things I miss most about going to Bookends, because getting most of these, like these were all $1. The Peregrines was $2, but most of the stuff was either $1 or 50 cents for paperbacks. So, I mean, this I may or may not read just because it is rather dusty. So it might not make the cut because it might get cut up. I always try and read the books first before I turn them into art or make them into art or journal covers or collage or what they may be. But sometimes it might not happen, and that one does. That is a bit dusty. Next up, we have of similar ilk, The Artist and Photographer's Guide to Wild Ontario. This actually very much looks like a textbook. Yeah, totally. This one I will read. And then, like, is it that one that looks like what are those called? Like a postcard. Would that be great on a journal cover? Or as a bookmark? I mean, lots of landscape photos, you know? Oh, that's painting. That's a painting, I think. So, we'll see. We shall see. All good. So, yay. I love nonfiction art books. Honestly, getting stuff like that, like getting something like this for $1, unlikely in most situations. Like at Value Village, that would be minimum $8 to $9. Might be more like more than that. So very exciting. I also got this classic, classic nonfiction, modern classic nonfiction, which I have actually never read, which is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers, Ph.D. Dynamic Techniques for Turning Fear, Indecision, and Anger into Power, Action, and Love. Without question, a classic. It's got the whole, this is a 20th anniversary, more than 2 million copies sold. I mean, yeah, so, and I really am surprised I haven't read it. I like reading, like, I sort of put this kind of stuff in now, sort of like as a productivity, which is not really what it is, but it's like stuff that makes you live more intentionally, you know, do the things that you want to do and don't let things get in your way. It's very much that vibe, I would imagine. I don't know for sure. Haven't read it yet, but yeah, haven't read it, and which is a bit surprising. Okay, now on to the classics, which is a little smaller of a section. So I got 6 plays by Strindberg. new translations by Elizabeth Sprigge. This has The Father, Miss Julie, The Stronger, Easter, A Dream Play, and Ghost Sonata. I read Miss Julie earlier this year, and I've actually watched several adaptations. I watched, I think, a Swedish adaptation from the 50s, and then I watched the Saffron Burrows one from the late 90s, early 2000s, which has Peter Mullen in it. I didn't know that Peter Mullen was in it. He's such a good actor. Anyway, like, he was in Tyrannosaur and True North. He's so good. Anyway, so I didn't love the play, but I am looking for the next playwright to read all of their works. I actually decided on Sophocles, but when I saw this for $1, I'm like, it's 6 plays for 50 cents. I'm saying yes. It might have been $1, actually. Sometimes literature ends up being $1, but I think they charged me 50 cents because it's a paperback. So either way, it's a steal for 6 plays. It's another one. It might be a little too dusty. The font is quite small. And the pages are very thin, which doesn't always work for me because if you see the ghosting of the stuff behind it, oh yeah, it might be too dusty. But yeah, it might be. But anyway, Strindberg. So yeah, and there's another Miss Julie adaptation that I want to watch, the one with Colin Farrell and Jessica Chastain. So I'm curious as to that one. I don't love this story too much, but I like watching multiple adaptations of the same story, which is one of the reasons why I like reading book to film adaptations, but plays are often like adapted a lot more. So anyway, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know, that one might not make it, but that's okay. Next up, I got Heidi by Johanna, Spyri. So this is somewhere between, this is sort of a classic as well as a kid's book. And this one, I think it was, I actually don't know the story. I'm not going to read the back. I think this one is on the Those Books exploration, and I've just never thought too much about it. And it's nice to have, the font is a little small. I don't have too much problem with that. But there's so many classics I have on my Kindle because they're part of the public domain, but sometimes I find when I have the physical edition, it's more likely to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. We shall see. I think it's coming of age kids-ish something. I don't want to know. I will read it. I know I'll read it at some point. So there we go. So that's sort of kids. And then I have some other kids books. This first one is, I'm not quite sure. Ambre, Félix et toi? So Amber, Felix, and me, and you, by Heendrickxen. All the information will be down below. This one's in French, but I don't mind. I'll still give it a shot. But I mean, I'm really in it for the pictures. I find so many like I find it very inspiring in terms of looking at the different artistic techniques for the different pictures, and that's very different from the other ones. We'll see how things go. I don't want to go too far into it. Oh, but animals, I think I was sold on that one. So I guess maybe Amber and Felix are the one's the cow, one's the fox? Or the dog? Is it a dog? It's a fox, yeah. That looks like a fox. You got the earmarks of a fox there. So that's another one. Then I also got Night in the Country. Story by Cynthia Ryland. Pictures by Mary Sizzolazzi. I'm sorry. Information will be down below. So this is another kid's book. Again, in it for the pictures. Frogs! This one's in English. I will read them. I will read both of them. Oh, but wouldn't that be a great journal cover? And that looks like pencil crayon. Right? Love it. Absolutely love it. And then there's this one, Gerald's Missing Shoe, presented by GeoX. This was free with purchase of any pair of shoes from GeoX Fall Winter 2015 Baby Collection. So it's a free book with your shoes. I don't know. So it's a bit different. It's very different. But also I do like to get different stuff for different art styles too. Like that's very different than what I would draw. You know, different color combinations, different proportions, you know. Shoes jumping. Are they magic shoes? So, oh, and then there's aliens. So that's a plus. So this is completely unfamiliar to me, but you know, there we go. Then we get to some later reading levels. I got The Treehouse Times, The Kickball Crisis by Paige McBeer. This is the second book in the Treehouse Times. This is completely unfamiliar to me, but I do like to have easy reads. You know, that's been something that I'm adding to the mix and this year, and it's been really, really helpful. So this looks like there's a, I don't know, the lot where they play kickball and maybe sold to a fast food chain. So I guess they have to do something to make sure that doesn't happen. Something like that. So we'll see. Also, given it's the spooky season coming up, I also got Haunted Campers. True Ghost Stories by Alan Zolozo. A horseback rider gives a stranger a lift. What spooky secret is that hitchhiker hiding? Horseback hitchhiker? So this is a collection of stories. So I thought that would be fun to read in October. I don't always do themed reading or seasonal reading, and given how focused I am on my current goal of finishing my currently reading titles, I certainly didn't want to start anything long. But I thought, what is this, like 8 stories? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 stories and 115 pages. I mean, I think maybe I can handle it. Maybe not, but maybe I could. So there we go. I also got this one. This one's a classic, and I really like the edition. This is very reminiscent, or it's not even reminiscent. It is very much of the time of the books of this type that I read when I was a kid, and which with the Apple paperbacks. And this is The Secret of Nim by Robert C. O'Brien, and it's actually, the title is Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. So it was made into the film The Secrets of Nim. And I think this came out around the time because we have an image with Mrs. Frisbee. Mrs. Brisby. They changed her name from Frisbee to Brisby. Is this illustrated? No, it's not illustrated. But, I mean, there's this... Oh, it's got someone's name in it. Ryan. It was Ryan's book. So, but it's very large print, you know. I've read lots of, like, Apple paperbacks in my day. And then we get one, I don't know, I don't think this is kids. Now we get into some more speculative fiction type stuff. So we have Dragons and Witches. Fairy Tale Villains Reimagined, edited by Madeline Smoot. So this is all tales from of Dragons and Witches, but reimagined. And I was like, yes, please. So we got, oh, there's a Baba Yaga one. That would be good for October as well. Maybe next October. Maybe November. I like to have collections and some, or anthologies. Witches, though, one of them means a very Baba Yaga Halloween. Oh, I want to read that. We'll see. We'll see which one makes the cut. Anyway, so it's pretty nice, big writing. I don't think... Oh, no, it is kids. The publisher is Children's Brains Are Yummy Books. That's the publisher, so it is a kid's book. So we'll see. We'll see which of those two makes... Which would you read? Which would you read? This one's definitely shorter. But, yeah, so options are good. And then I was thrilled to see this one there. This is by a Canadian author, and it's Empire of Wild by Sherry Dimeline, I think. I believe it's the author of The Mare Thieves. Oh, it's first edition. Decalagious. So, and this is sort of an urban fantasy maybe not urban, but current day speculative fiction alternate. I think it's actually based on mythology, I think. That is my, magical electrical novel that merges modern urban world with mythology in an uncolonialized landscape. So yeah, I've been wanting to read this for a long time. So I'm looking forward to that. And then this one was total blind pick. The Labyrinth Gate by Ellis A. Rasmussen. And this is about a couple that gets a tarot deck, and then it looks like they get whisked away into another world through the tarot deck. And it's a standalone. Standalone. Do you know how many books I picked off of the science fiction and fantasy that were third in series? A lot. More than one. Less than 10. So yeah, so standalone fantasy tarot deck, I was like, yeah, for sure. I'd never heard of it, but that's totally fine. This is from 1988. So that's exciting. So now we are on to the romance titles. Oh, let's get these a bit closer. So, yeah, and they had romance. They were mostly in the paperbacks, but I did find one in the trade paper. And I found one in the fantasy, actually, I think. I'm not sure if that's where it was. We'll see. Anyway, so the first one I got was this one. This is it's called The Arrangement. It's stories by Sylvia Day, Minerva Spencer, and Kristen Vaden. It is Zebra historical romance. I think Zebra is it Kensington? Yeah, Kensington. So, and oh yeah, here's the stories on the back. So we have Mischief and the Marquess by Sylvia Day, The Duke's Treasure by Minerva Spencer, and The Innocent Countess by Kristen Vaden. So I'm reading it backwards. So, yeah, and this is like super floppy, well-loved. I always think that's a good sign. I'm not always a historical romance person, but it was interesting. I have enjoyed some titles I've read by Kensington, so I thought I would give it a shot, and I haven't seen a lot of Zebra ones out there, so definitely, and there's 3 in 1, right? 3 for 50 cents. Yes, please. And this one it might have been in fantasy. Maybe not. So this one I was thrilled to see. Oh, but yeah, it was. Okay, so this one is Lord of the Wolves by Heather Graham. This is part of she has a Viking historical romance series, and it has a setback. Is that a bookmark? I think you can make that a bookmark. I'm not going to do that, but these are the titles. Very, very hot. Romantic, superlative, and then an incredible storyteller and excellent. So those are the quotes. So yeah, so there's our setback. I mean, I couldn't put it away. I like Viking romance anyway, so yeah. And you may have noticed that Post-it note in the back. That's a reminder. This is the third in a series, the third in a trilogy. Yeah, the first one I do have on Kindle, so yeah. And I have read Heather Graham, but I've read her current suspense paranormal series. I read the first in that one. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, can't remember what it's called. It's like 30 books long. Sarah from The Bookish Knitter has read it. It might be rereading it. I heard about it from her, and I read the first book one Halloween season. So Lord of the Wolves. I mean, it's also just a treasure. It's also, I don't know if you can tell, but it's embossed. There we go. So the whole cover is embossed. And this is raised a little bit. Yeah, Viking historical romance. You do not have to twist my arm. Okay, next up I got Bane by Brenda Jackson. This is the Harlequin Desire. And it is, I have a note here. Not sure what that note says, but it's part of the Westmoreland series. It is the 31st out of 35 titles. Now, with this kind of title, I'm not worried about it at all. So, but anyway, but I haven't read Brenda Jackson before. But now I have all opportunity to do so. And I this looks a little more glaring than I thought, but I like to cover up the library stickers. So I just use washi tape and Post-it notes and I usually try and get something, but it's like, I went with this color, but with the blue, it's a little more noticeable. But anyway, over time, I find it's just helpful and to just not have it because it had a big black marker through it because this one's part of the library system. I don't mind it being on the spine, but I don't like it on the front. So anyway, so yeah, Bane by Brenda Jackson. Let me know, have you read this series or other series by her that you've enjoyed? More Harlequin goodness I saw, and this I have not seen a lot out there, and it's a super romance. And so this is A Recipe for Reunion by Vicky Essex, and it's also signed by the author. It had a little signed by the author thing here. It's actually personalized to Elaine. So, yeah, there we go. So, second time's the charm. So this looks like a second chance romance. It's also a larger print. The super romances were known for being longer, so this is actually quite long, but it's also large print, which I don't read tons of. Like, I'll read it if that's what's available, but I don't seek it out. So I'll see what that's like. I like reading kids' books that are larger print, but I haven't read lots of romances that are, but I know there are a fair amount. Now, this one, I have to admit, was a bit of a misstep. They didn't have tons of Harlequins, and the ones they had weren't always the lines that I like. So I did get a Desire, a Super Romance, and I have a historical here. But they weren't separated out and put together, which is really surprising, especially because, like, for me, like, usually when you go to, like, a Value Village or something like that, or even when I go to Bookends South, they're off to the side. They're all together, and they have a brand style, so it's usually easy to find them. But I just scanned through all of the paperbacks, and I did, and so these are the ones I came with. I think there were some other Desires that had the red spine, which is an older spine, but again, the Desires I don't read. There was a fair amount of love inspired, which I'm not interested in, and some suspense, which again doesn't really work for me. But I picked up this historical because it's historical. So this is A Wager to Tempt the Runaway by Bronwyn Scott, who's an author I've read before and enjoyed, but I already have this one. I am usually pretty good at remembering what I have and what I don't have, but I didn't do reader service for a little bit in 2021, and this was one of the ones that I got at the time. I have not read it yet, but it does sound good. It's part of the Rebellious Sisterhood series? I think it's part of a series. Yeah, the Rebellious Sisterhood, and all of the things sounded good. Like it all sounded good, even though it's Regency, which is not my favorite. But so anyway, so that's one duplicate, and then the last one I left for last purposefully. This I literally. Like, I wasn't specifically looking for, but this title has been on my TBR for a long time. It's the next book in a series that I really love the first one, and I got the first one on a Kindle sale at some point. This series used to be on Scribd, and then it went off Scribd. It's not at the library on ebook, and I just felt like there's no way I'm going to get this book. I could, of course, buy the Kindle book, but, like, there's so many books and so many series out there, and I just hit all of these, like, roadblocks, and then there it was. I didn't even know this series was available in physical edition, and that is West of Want by Laura K. the Second in the Hearts of the, I don't know how to pronounce that word, Anemone series. This is sort of like paranormal romance. Oh, this is Entangled. Simply thrilling. Yeah, they're paranormal romance gods, like he's the supreme god of the West Wind. And the first one also, I thought the first one dealt with grief, and I thought it dealt with it very well, which is not something you always see in romance often. It's very quick to the next thing, but I thought it dealt with it very well. And so I was just so thrilled. This was in with the paperbacks, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'll pay $1 for that? Yes, I will. That was an easy yes. So I am thrilled and super excited to read this, and I definitely think that this is one of the ones that I'm going to start soon. Of course, I want to read everything, but I am very much focused on my currently reading and getting my currently reading to not to zero, but to finish the last of the things that I have held on to for a long time. But I have sort of I have the next speculative fiction title that I want to read, and I have the next like literary realistic fiction title I want to read, and this is the first romance that I want to read once I finish those final set of books and get to read new stuff. Obviously, I have lots to choose from, plus I have lots on my shelves, but this one I'm super, super happy about. So I wish I could stack all of these up. I did manage to get a thumbnail, but I mean, there's just too many books, but there are the romances. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do it by genre. There are the speculative fiction. I don't know, I guess Secret of Nim is kind of speculative fiction, yes. And then we have the kids' books. Super exciting to get some kids' books. I love getting picture books. I'm actually not surprised I didn't get more picture books. And then we have classics. Yay! Classics. Only 2. That's actually, I didn't look too much. I should have gone back and looked at the plays and the poetry because there was a fair amount. And then we have the nonfiction, which is very, very heavy. And I'll just do that. Ooh, one of those is really heavy. I think it's the... both of the Canadian art, photography, nature stuff. So there you go. There is my big haul from Bookends. So a big thank you to my sister Jamie for going with me and like inspiring the trip to get us to go there and to go to that particular one for the first time. I really, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to go. It was really interesting to see what was different, or and I think I would just probably alternate between the two because they just have different kinds of stuff and they're organized in a bit of a different way. It was interesting to have the nonfiction so organized, but I kind of missed a little bit of like you never know what the next thing is going to be. I did miss that a little bit. So I think that the solution is clear, just to alternate one then the other back and forth. So they did have, I feel like they had more romance at this one, but I feel like, but most of them, almost none of them were from the library. So that's the only one is from the library. The rest were all donations. So that you never know. Like you never know how many there will be. And I will say, I think they got because I got a bunch of stuff and I did put some stuff back, but I think they reshelved and filled up the shelves like while we were still there, because some of the time it was hard to get some more stuff back on the shelf. So there obviously is more, to come out, and be on the shelf. So and that's one of the pleasures of going, of thrifting or treasure hunting or going to a store like this or going to somewhere like Value Village. It's just like you never know where you're going to find. You never know. So I'm looking forward to going back, especially to look at the nonfiction art stuff. And I'm looking forward to going to the one in at Young and Bloor as well. I haven't been back there for years, and it's just so much fun. And I'm so thrilled that I found it because I know so many people do library book sales, and I was just like, wow, that's just not, especially it's not the prices I can find in like by regular sort of thrifting, and they do one huge sale, but like people line up and I'm like, I don't need first editions, I just need influx. Like I love like seeing what's there, and lots of these I will actually like use in art, or I will leave in little free libraries once I'm done with them, or share them with anyone who wants to have them, so I like that sort of, that, what's that word? I said influx, so something like that. I think it's nice to have a new infusion, and I got like all of this for under $20. So I am thrilled. It was so much fun. So there you go. Now I'm just gushing, but it has been years. I have not I've gone to a couple of thrift sales. I do look at my local library. They do have a cart with books on sale outside, but it's different between seeing just shelves and shelves and shelves of books that are priced between 50 cents to up to like $2. They do, I'm sure some of the big coffee table books are individually priced, but these were mostly 50 cents or $1, and then the Peregrine Falcons was $2. So it was, as I said, it's the best deal in town that I have found. So I'm thrilled, and this video is super long, so I hope that you enjoyed it. And yeah, let me know, have you gone to a library book sale recently? Do you get to be able to go out to those? It took me a while to find one here in Toronto, but when I did, I was super happy, and I can't wait to go again. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back soon with another video.